All right. Hello and welcome, everyone. So, last night they had a more important than usual prime time where we got to see a bunch of new stuff about Duviri, and this is going to be a catch up on all that stuff going into Duviri so you guys know what you can expect from the stuff that we were shown. First and foremost, some basic stuff, the path to Duviri. So, no matter what you choose, if you start a new account, you can choose Duviri or the regular Warframe path as we know it now. Pretty much either way you go, you're going to quickly be able to do the other stuff. So for those of you that have already started an account or started playing Warframe recently, and you just are playing, you're not gonna have to start a new account or anything like that. As long as you've done Vor's Prize, which for those of you that have forgotten is literally the tutorial. It's the very first thing you do. You'll be able to immediately experience Duviri. Also, for people that are planning on just starting up with Duviri, right after the quest, you're going to be able to pretty much immediately choose the regular Warframe path with Awakening and all that stuff, and you'll be able to just go and do Vor's Prize and get that stuff started, and then have access to both. So, don't worry about not starting yet or anything with that. It's all going to be hyper accessible to everyone. With that, Duviri overall. So, they are planning to, we got small news, which is that they are planning to expand melee weapons for the Drifter eventually. So you're starting with 5 different melee weapons that you can choose from as the Drifter's melee. Those weapons are also going to be available for Warframes, which includes the Dual Nikana. You're going to be able to earn those. So that's a consideration. It's going to start with 5 options, which I feel like is already plenty, and they are planning to expand that eventually. Also, the length of the quest, they said that it's about 2 hours if you know what you're doing, which means usually with the way that they've predicted it in the past, but with a new war and everything, where they said that was going to take about 4 hours, it means that it's probably, for at least the vast majority of players, going to take about 5. And this is going to take about 3. So for those of us that are very experienced, it'll probably be closer to that 2 marker. But for a lot of players, it's going to be a 3-hour quest, which is pretty considerable. Also, there are no companions in Duviri. Despite this, it does not matter at all, because all players will have enemy radar and vacuum by default, which is the whole thing with companions. This is all we give a shit about companions doing. So it does not matter that there are no companions in Duviri, because essentially, for all intents and purposes, we'll have them. So that's great. I just wish that this part was just the case anyway everywhere. Just UNIVAC when, just throwing it out there. But it's nice that it's here in Duviri and we don't have to worry about it. That's going to be good. Mainly, what we saw is the circuit. So this is the Warframe-only mode that we're going to see a little bit whenever it's interspersed with the main gameplay of Duviri, where you will end up here doing this stuff. But it also is its own mode, and this is an Endless-only mode that is a assortment of all of the Endless missions in basically a grab bag, where it can be defense, it can be excavation, it can be flood, it can be it'll just random through, it'll be survival, and just you'll get a new one every round. So that's what it is as a game mode. And mostly I want to talk about the rewards for it, because the rewards for it are going to be extremely good for new players and, of course, extremely good for more experienced players as well. And especially they're going to be good for people who are in the mid-game, I think. So, first and foremost, let's go through the Steel Path real quick because it's very simple and easy. These are the Incarnate Genesises. Basically, each week you're going to be able to choose 2 of 5 of them, and you can earn 2 of them per week. So, you'll be able to do Steel Path stuff, get a couple of these Incarnate Genesises, and then next week it'll rotate to a new selection, and you'll choose 2 more, and so on and so forth, and then eventually you'll have all of them, presumably. So that's good. Seems like a good way to earn this. I believe they said there's going to be 20 on launch, so that's a full month of at least seeing probably new ones every single week, if not having seen exactly all 20 within the first 4 weeks, but we'll see. But yeah, these are hugely interesting to me. We did not get any details on really any of the numbers that are going to be associated with this, but this is one of the things that I personally am the most interested in. And of course, also they stated very explicitly we are going to be getting more Incarnins in an Echoes update, so that's worth noting. Now, for regular players and people that started with Duviri especially, big important thing, normal circuit. Earn a Warframe through a weekly reward track. So, this, basically, it'll show you 3 Warframes, and you get to pick one of them, and when you pick one of them, you get a reward track for your week. And as you can see, this reward track has some stuff in it kind of for everybody. We have 2 different arcanes in here. We have augment mods, this is a Vampire Leech for Trinity. There's an aura mod in here, and it's a good selection of stuff alongside the blueprints for the Warframe. Now, I will say it is kind of weird that it's the blueprints for these and not just these built. The reason I say that is because it means that there are certain Warframes that are going to become much easier to get through this, and other Warframes that it's really not going to change kind of at all. Great example is Zaku. Zaku, if you get their parts, that's great, but the difficult thing is actually getting the materials together to put Zaku together. That's actually the hard part. Whereas the opposite is true for someone like Grendel. If you get Grendel through this, it's going to ostensibly be insanely easier to just get all the blueprint pieces for Grendel and then just build them because the build requirements are quite low and very accessible. So that's a bit of a weird one, but at the very least, it will make it so that certain Warframes that are a huge pain to get right now, looking at you, Ashe, Hildryn, and Grendel, are going to be insanely easier to acquire. But that is, of course, predicated on if you see them in like your kind of random grab bag here. But this is going to rotate weekly, so like, you know, if there's a Warframe that you don't want to farm, say, I don't know, for whatever reason you hate farming the hyenas, and you want Loki still, this offers an alternative way to get at least the parts in the blueprint form for all of the Warframes, which is incredibly, incredibly useful and is especially good for those of you that have not finished your helmet stuff because, as a reminder, you'll need 2 of most Warframes to get, like, everything out of them. Like, if you want, like, the base version of Wisp, you're going to need a second Wisp to throw into the helmet, and this will also be just another great way to earn stuff through that. The fact that there's arcanes and other mods and such in here as well also is really nice for just like just having a good reward for players that already have these Warframes. I am curious to see, like, if I own Trinity, if these parts get replaced with something else, say if it's more mods or just gets replaced with Endo or something along those lines. I think that would be incredibly interesting, but we'll see, of course, whenever it launches. And if there's like track 2, if you choose Trinity twice, if you get something different. But super, super interesting. Auras and arcanes in here are going to mean that this is going to at least be a worthy endeavor for pretty much everybody. Like, very few people are probably going to get nothing out of this unless you already have everything there is, which is, of course, a very small percentage of players. Also, they are intending this as an excellent way to level frames that you randomly get. And by this, I mean the circuit. So the circuit has the same, you go in with roguelike style, like randomly it'll give you some Warframe choices, you'll choose a Warframe, then randomly it'll give you some weapon choices and you'll choose your weapons. And then that's how you get into the circuit, even when it's the Warframe only mode and doesn't include the Drifter stuff. So for that, they are basically trying to encourage you to choose Warframes that you maybe don't have leveled up yet and you can like use their loner builds for, because they're going to give a huge amount of experience. So they want this as a way where to incentivize you to choose things you haven't used yet and get them leveled, which is super interesting. I think that that's like a really good choice where it's like, well, randomly, if you get Trinity and you happen to not have her leveled, this will be a great way to just boost her back up. For me personally, that probably would be nice for, like, for example, I formed my Revenant recently for the Augment, and as someone who's high MR, I don't need to re-level Revenant, but technically it would give me some stats. And if I would randomly get Revenant here, I walk away from the circuit with it leveled, and that's a positive to me. Also, like, you know, good for forming and stuff probably, like, because you can just use a loner build, and if you're an early game player, re-level your X-Scale that you've thrown a Forma into that you like, through this with a full build that's been given to you, as opposed to having to use, like, you know, your like kind of low level mods and all that stuff. It seems really good. The one thing that was a little bit confusing that they seemed pretty clear on, but I'm not quite sure, is it seemed like you could do the circuit to rotate what your choices are for main Duviri, because they went in and did like a regular run where it's everything together after they did this. And they had stated that, like, it rotated because they did the circuit, which is interesting if you can do, like, a very short circuit and, like, get, like, a new rotation of options for, like, the main, like, 2-hour windows of Duviri stuff. So that's a bit interesting to me if there's going to be anything, like, you can do strategically, perhaps, with that. But, yeah, it all seems really cool and good. Like, the rewards seem like they are going to be, like, extremely good for new players. I can tell you immediately that this is going to change some things with like how we look at the free to play through, of course. because it means that there's going to be potentially a very good way to like level our starter frames, which is very important. Because just being able to start out the game, exit Vor's Prize, and immediately maybe go instantly level your Warframe to 30 is pretty impactful. And also just like being able to have access to Warframes that you really probably would not have otherwise. Like, for example, getting Trinity is like a colossal pain in the ass right now. It is a huge pain in the ass, and a new player could probably make good use of Trinity. Also, Warframes like Avara that are traditionally behind only spy rewards, which a lot of players don't want to do. Being able to get that as a new player through this, through just like kind of regular combat stuff, is super good and interesting. Also worth noting, whenever you choose like what you're going for, it doesn't mean, just to be clear, it does not mean that you like play as Ember a bunch in the circuit and then get her. You play as still randomly whatever you roll. So you're earning the reward without having necessarily to use it, which is also super interesting and good. But yeah, overall, we got some details on the circuit stuff and just some general details going into Duviri here. And it seems really good so far. Really looking forward to this. Also, worth noting for anyone, I know that it was a big concern for some people. Pablo like showed some gameplay, and then people seemed to like not think that that was like a good showcase. And what Rebecca and Megan did was like they did 2-player co-op Duviri and like just kind of jumped into it and just started doing things. And I feel like it looked really good. I don't know. Like, I watched the Pablo stuff, and like sometimes the videos that Pablo puts out are like he's on the dev build and he's kind of just testing stuff, and he happened to record a video. With Reb and Megan like actively like playing, like just doing the objective and like killing these guys, it looked really smooth to me. So like, I don't know. If you had misgivings about what Pablo showed, I might suggest you go and watch this primetime, at least like the section where they do regular Duviri, to get a handle on that, because I don't know, it seemed fine to me. They were mowing through these motherfuckers and just killing them left and right. So that's what's up. I'm very excited for Duviri. Cannot wait for this to launch. Looks really cool. Going to be very interesting. Like just with this stuff, it's going to be very interesting for like new player progression and all that kind of business. Super hyped for it going forward. Anyway, that's going to do it. I am going to be streaming over on twitch.tv/Brozime today, so come check it out. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Goodbye. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. And of course, as usual, thank you very much to all of the new and returning patrons. And especially thank you to our $10 patrons, who are Alex Parnham, Baker, Brutus Salazar, Dylan Dworsky, Ithrain, Hafan, James Hartshorn, JC for Science, Jefferson Clark, Jesse Richardson, I'm supposed to say that, Joshua Adams, Luzanth, Alec X. Williams, Minty Ginja, Mitchta, Nicholas Gridley, Paradise, Promoxidate, Zach Zahner, and Zerafir. And also thank you to, of course, all the rest of the patrons. It has been really stellar with the support from you guys and everything. It has been much appreciated and really allowed me to go deep on doing website stuff with the free-to-play through and everything, which is, of course, ongoing. This month should be Duviri, so it should be extremely exciting going forward. Yeah, I'm just very excited for Duviri, getting to do all the guides and things, getting the critical path index done, and, well, maybe not done, but more complete. Anyway, thank you for watching, and much appreciated, everyone.